I think everybody has joined the Zoom link. I'll do the invitation for the discussion. Teruvan Sarna, everyone. I would like to warmly welcome everyone for today's Dhamma discussion, and also would like to invite our Dhammadassi, Venerable Dhammadassi Thero to start today's session with metta and kindness to everyone. Thank you.
Teruvan Sarana, everyone. As always, we are gathered here to discuss the questions that you have sent to the WhatsApp group. And before starting this discussion, let's take this moment to make our minds and make our surroundings suitable for a Dhamma discussion. What covers up the Nibbana path or our wisdom are actually Pancha Nivarana, namely Kamachanda Vyapada Thina Middha Uddacca and Vicikiccha. So it is when someone creates a suitable background for a Dhamma discussion, in that background, these 5 Nivaranas should be eliminated. So to eliminate these Nivaranas, let us recall on the qualities of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and let's take this moment to remind ourselves about all the meritorious things, good things, virtuous things we have done throughout this life, throughout this samsaric journey. All that meritorious power may agglomerate together, creating the perfect background for everyone to understand Dhamma without Pancha Nivarana, being able to focus and being able to understand the Arya Dhamma. With this thought in mind, accept this blessing with the sadhakara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And as always, let us not forget to focus on the unwholesome things that we have done throughout this samsaric journey. Let's take this moment to understand that we have done unwholesome things during this samsaric journey. Let us acknowledge these faults of us and let us promise ourselves that we are refraining from doing any of these unwholesome things again. With that thought in mind, let us forgive from the triple gems in front of Supreme Buddhas, seeking forgiveness for all the unwholesome things that we have done throughout this suffering sansara with this sadhukara.
Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We have got 2 questions today for the discussion. I'll read the first question. It is already in the group, and you can go and read from the group as well. So I read it. Teruvan Saranai, how to properly apply the AsubhanusSati to stop the advance of impurities, such as lustful thoughts and sexual desires. The usual method that I have heard and put into practice is getting into some kind of samadhi and then beginning to visualize the internal organs, taking them out and looking at the organs and making it as real as possible, such as the blood, smell, and etc. And repeating this process over and over again with more details. After practicing in this manner for a few months, I began to notice a few things, such as excessive irritation, depressed mindset, and strange behaviors. I begin visiting the graveyard too much, etc. I don't think there was any development of wisdom, though I got very good at visualization of body parts. As for the reduction of sexual desire, nothing noteworthy. How to properly apply the Asubha Vibhajavadi to stop the process of impurities. For example, person X is walking in the street and sees an attractive model, and that leads to the arising of the impurities. How to break the attachment and stop the advance of impurities in this case? Similarly, the attachment can happen through the other four senses. In the example above, a raga attachment has happened, and the key force of raga is moha. Ditti Vipallasa, Sanya Vipallasa, and Chitta Vipallasa. The arising of these three is called moha. I'd like to know in the above example what is Ditti Vipallasa, what is Sanya Vipallasa, and what is Chitta Vipallasa. Please, in your explanation, apply Asubha, Tirakana, Paticcasamuppada, and 4 Arya truths. Thank you very much. So that is the question. I think it's very clear for everyone what the question is. Now, in Buddha Sasana, we are trying to go through the core concepts so you can apply it in the practical life to get your life better, easier. And the level of suffering in your day-to-day lives should become low, or should come to a lower level after practicing these practical methods which are based on these core concepts. So firstly, we would focus on the core concepts. So when we are focusing on the core concepts, what the question takes us to Ditti Vipallasa, Sanya Vipallasa, and Chitta Vipallasa, and that is a very good approach to talk about the mechanism or talk about the core concepts. So initially, one would get rid of Ditti Vipallasa, and that is a must. And it happens in this order. First Ditti Vipallasa, then Sanya Vipallasa, and finally, lastly, Chitta Vipallasa is eliminated. So what is Ditti Vipallasa? Ditti Vipallasa is the problem or corruption, or we can say the ignorance about the ditti or the viewpoint. So the person does not know what to view or what to believe. He doesn't know the building blocks or the mechanism of this world, how this operates. That core understanding is not there. So that is called Ditti Vipallasa. Or again, we can say Ditti Vipallasa as Sakkaya Ditti, Vicikiccha, and Silabbata Paramasa. The three first Sanyojana that is broken when someone's eyes of wisdom are opened are actually can be coupled with Ditti Vipallasa. So the thing is, when he has mentioned in his question about the usual practice of AsubhanusSati, where each and every body part of our body, or our body is divided into 32 components, and each and every body part is divided and visualized, and we are trying to see the negative nature, asubha, or some might use the word, it is very disgusting nature of this body. Now that is a very wrong approach when it comes to Buddha Sasana. When somebody tries to get rid of Sanya Vipallasa before eliminating Ditti Vipallasa, the exact same thing happens. So if somebody does not know how to eliminate Ditti Viparita, and when the Ditti Viparita is gone, Ditti Vipallasa is gone, it is very easy for that person to approach or change his method or use a practical method to tackle this sanya viparita. But what happens when somebody is not focused on ditti viparita, or ditti viparita is still there, and again trying to apply something on sanya viparita? Some sanya viparita means the recognition is corrupted. So we see these things in a corrupted way. We recognize these things in a corrupted way. That is why when we see the model on the side of the road, we see something else, not original sight or original thing, original perception is not what we recognize, but we see something different, something altered, something corrupted. So when the thing is corrupted and the person also does not have the ditti or the clean ditti, or again another name is samma ditti, the lokottara samma ditti. Of course, when the person is not having that lokottara samma ditti, then this person doesn't know how to recognize. So would use the same methodology that is said in the book, especially books like, or sutras like the Satipatthana Sutta. So the person would know, read it and understand something out of it. Now what I have to do is divide this into 32 parts and then try to visualize, and then everything would be fine. Would be the viewpoint of that person, the person who is still having the ditti viparita, and would try to apply it. And what would happen? Another ditti, a viparita ditti or corrupted ditti, would cover up the original corrupted ditti. Oh, he had the corrupted ditti, or the recognition. Now we will go for the recognition. Or ditti gives the food or the fuel to the recognition part. So the recognition is according to the ditti. So we view something in a certain way and we recognize it in that exact same way. So the recognition is according to the ditti. So that's why we need the lokottara samma ditti to recognize things in a arya way. If somebody is not having that, if somebody has not cleaned his ditti, the arya ditti is, if the person is not having that arya ditti, then that person cannot recognize it in an arya way. So if that kind of a person who is not clean with the ditti is trying to apply something to get rid of the ditti viparita, then what happens is another ditti replaces another miccha ditti, or another wrong, another recognition part becomes wrong because the ditti again is not the samma ditti and something else. So what happens? First, it was raga. There was attachment, there was impurities developing in that mind after seeing that model by the side of the road. And after practicing this method of disgust and trying to divide it into parts and see that the body is disgusting and everything is bad, negative, this body is in a bad, in a dosa way. So we shift from raga to dosa. So what happens is it becomes a disgust. Now this feeling of disgust, it includes in dosa. So instead of raga, now the person goes to dosa from raga. Now that is not what we want. So what we need to first do is to understand what ditti viparita and what is the wrong ditti, what is wrong with us, what is wrong with the viewpoint. Then we would know that the currently existing viewpoint is wrong, and then we would be able to change it in a way so that we would know exactly what to do. We would not need a book, we would not need a special guidebook, guideline. We would exactly know from our wisdom what to do, what is wrong with me, and what to do to get rid of that. And that is what we should aim for. So today we'll discuss from the beginning about, especially based on this question, especially based on this specific scenario, how to tackle this problem. So another very important part, now I'm just preparing the background to answer the question. So another core point here, what we need to understand is there are two types of disciplining. One part is Panya Vimukta, or the salvation is approached or attained with Panya, wisdom. And the other one is Cheto Vimukta. Cheto Vimukta is also again a salvation, and that is called Cheto means Chitta. Chitta means mind. Salvation of the mind is also needed for most of the individuals to complete this Arya pathway. So Cheto Vimukta and Panya Vimukta. So it says for Avijja Viraga, or to eliminate Avijja, we need Panya Vimukta, Panya Vimukti, or we need the Panya Vimukta pathway. To eliminate Raga, for Raga Viraga, we need Cheto Vimukti, or we need the component of Cheto Vimukti. So we need both. So somebody, a person who is not a very big Raga Charita and who has a very high level of wisdom, or a Sushka Vidarshaka person, might not need to develop that Samadhi level, as you have correctly mentioned. We need a Samadhi to eliminate the Raga nature. Because in the Nirukti, or the etymology for the word Raga, is actually the wandering. So what is the opposite of wandering? We are staying in a specific place, no wandering. We are idling, or we are not moving. We are still. We are talking about the mind, of course. The mind is wandering and the mind is still. So when the mind is still, we call it samadhi, in a way, concentrated on something. But when that is not there, the mind is wandering. It is moving all over the place. It's going and grabbing onto something, and then releasing it and grabbing onto something else. And trains of thoughts are starting based on the objects of interest, which are of course coming from the five senses or six senses, including the mind as well. So what we have to do here, of course, is to develop wisdom. But to develop wisdom, raga is a very big barrier. That's why when raga in its impurest form is called kama chanda. Ka ama. Ama means nibbana. Ka means it's like destroyed. Exact meaning of ka means eaten. So the nibbana is eaten, or nibbana is destroyed. Nibbana, the peace, the salvation is destroyed. Ka ama. Cha anda. Anda means blind. The mind is blinded, so the thing is ama, or the person cannot think straight. He thinks in a corrupted way, and the ama, or the nibbana, cannot be achieved. It got destroyed. So kama chanda. Raga is what leads to kama chanda. Raga is its primary form, we can say. So this raga, the wandering, is a very big barrier, obstacle for the wisdom, or for the wisdom to blossom in our minds. Because to wisdom to blossom in our minds, we need that correct background, which is Samma Samadhi. So 8 components, Samadhi, Samma Sankappa, Vacha, Kammanta, Ajiva, Vayama, Sati, and the Samma Samadhi leads to 2 results, Samma Jnana and Samma Vimukti. And that completes the Arihathood. Dasa Hangehi Samannagato Arahati Uchati. So to become an Arihat, we need 10 components, and 8 is completed when we are practicing the Arihattangika Magga, and the 2 results are what it gives, Samma Jnana and Samma Vimukti. So the Samma Samadhi, which is a Samadhi, of course, is opposite of Raga. So Raga is just wandering, is shattered, but Samadhi is something, the opposite of it. It's not shattered. It's concentrated. So this concentration cannot be acquired forcefully. What we need to know is Supreme Buddha's Dhamma is always talking about causes and effects. So what we need to understand, what are the causes that shatters or disperses or makes our mind wander around. There are 5 things, and we have discussed it at the beginning of the discussion as well. Kama, Chanda, Vyapada, Tina, Midda, Uddacca, Kukucha, and Vichikicha. So these 5 things are what reduces the focus of our mind. So Vyapada, when somebody is angry, we exactly know we cannot focus on wisdom. When there's karma or lustful thoughts, sensual thoughts, we cannot focus on Aridam. When somebody is not fresh, when somebody is lazy, when somebody is drowsy, and we can say when the Tina Midda is there. Tina Midda means midda. The word etymology of that Tina Midda is midda means somebody's mind is coagulated. You know, milk, when it is not coagulated, just like the liquid milk, we can use it. We can pour it into a bottle, we can pour it into a glass, and we can do something with it. But when we put some bacteria, lactobacillus, or some kind of a bacteria to make cheese or make curd or make yogurt, when that process is happening, it gets coagulated inside. And when it is coagulated, we cannot do the same things that we did with it before. So just like that, when the mind is coagulated, we cannot use it properly. Just like when the person is hanging on to something very, very tightly. When someone's mind is just lazy because we like that state to prevail. We are in the bed, we don't like to go out, we just like to stay in that state for as long as possible. That is coagulation in that state. So that kind of laziness, that kind of Tina Midda, that kind of sleepiness, laziness, basically the inactive nature of mind and of course the body, both results in inability to develop wisdom. And again, another thing is Uddacca Kukucha. Uddacca Kukucha is trying to have things on our according to our way. Basically, forgetting about anicca. So when somebody has forgotten about anicca, when somebody has not focusing on anicca, he or she tries to control the background, surrounding according to their will, according to their expectations. They try to do it somehow, put force and work hard And that applies to Arya Magga as well. When somebody is trying to practice Arya Magga, and when it is just overdriven, there should be a limit of effort. And with this, when this effort is increased more than the level which it should be, or when it is increased to a level that is harmful for the Arya Magga, that is because of this Nivarana. So the Uddacca means trying to do things according to the expectation. Kukucha means, and then the person's mind become impure because of that. For example, there's a child and we try to control this child because of our Uddacca, and the child doesn't listen, and then we punish the child, and that is Kukucha. So the mind becomes again impure. And these 5 components are, of course, things that makes our mind impure. So trying to practice the Arya pathway according to expectation, thinking that I'll somehow do it. Of course, that is a good thing in a way, but when the person is not aligning with anicca, not focusing on that this is a cause and effect thing. So the only thing we can do is putting effort in a way to create the causes. So we try to create the causes with our maximum effort, but we cannot get the effect by putting effort, because it is the causes that gives out the effect. So when somebody is trying to get the effect with so much effort, that can lead to Uddacca Kukucha, because that person is not following the principle, understanding the basic principle of anicca. Anicca is, it's upada vaya dhammino. It is due to upada and vaya. So when the person is not focusing it, he is not focusing on the causes and trying to create the causes so that the effect is just emanated. The person is not focusing on that, but focusing on the effect itself and trying to get the effect out of it. Just like trying to, in this example, trying to get rid of these impure thoughts just by doing something else without understanding the real causes. Doing something else would, and trying to do something, I have to do something about it, would not be the good best approach. What we should do is we have to find the causes. Okay, now these are the causes that leads to this type of impure thought. So I should get rid of these causes. Hetum paticca sambhutang. That is what gave rise to this wrong impure thought. So if I hetu bhanga nirujjati, or get rid of the hetu or the causes, then the effect would not occur. And that is very easy, because it is crystal clear. What I have to do is to get rid of these causes. Then I don't have to do anything else other than that. I don't have to focus on the effect. I don't have to do something else to get the or to remove the effect. I just have to focus on the causes and see whether if I am creating the causes. And when that is not done, effect would not occur. And again, this is Uddacca Kukucha. Vicikiccha is just the person's inability to have confidence in the task. So when the person does not have any confidence, that person's mind is again cannot be focused on something, because we are having Vicikiccha, which is a factor that disperses or makes our minds wander around. So these 5 things should be eliminated. So in Buddha Sasana, Samatha, we call about Samatha and Vipassana. Samatha is about samatha of panchani varna, or samatha, the word, etymology of this word samatha means we have this thing called samatha venom. That means samatha means just we come to an agreement, or we become we settle things. So settling, the better word is settling. Settlement of something. What is the settlement? Now, Kama Chanda is not a, it doesn't make our mind settled, but it makes our mind disperse. Vyapada, Chinamida, Uddacca, Kucha, and Vichikicha, all 5 of these things makes our mind disperse. But samatha, which we should achieve, when we achieve it, our mind is settled. So this settling of our mind should be achieved by eliminating the causes, the 5 causes, which are the 5 nivaranas. So when all the nivaranas are gone, that is samatha. And that is the best background to practice vipassana. When somebody is practicing vipassana, this type of samatha is developed. When samatha is developed, it is the background to develop vipassana. So we call it samatha purvangama vipassana and vipassana purvangama samatha. So vipassana becomes the leading factor for some people, and the samatha follows. And for other people, samatha is the leading factor and the vipassana follows. So now we discussed all these core concepts to understand that to eliminate raga, or for raga viraga, what we need is to focus on Cheto Vimukta Magga, Cheto Vimukta pathway. So to practice on Cheto Vimukta pathway, now we have to, again, before starting that, we have to understand exactly why our body and our mind act in certain ways. For example, if we talk about Brahmas, they don't get hungry because body of Brahmas doesn't have that deficiency. When the Brahma, since Brahmas doesn't have that deficiency, when Brahmas see food, see various types of different dishes of food, Brahmas never ever get hungry. But on the other hand, of course, us would get hungry. Even Arihats get hungry. So we have to understand that our body has a certain need for hunger. But that is not the problem. It is there in Arihats as well. So we have changed this hungry nature or deficiency with our mental thoughts, with Avijja, having this idea that this world is, these food are valuable, Nitya Sukha Subha, and that wrong viewpoint has made our mind deficient. Our mind becomes deficient to taste these delicious, so-called delicious food. When the mind is deficient, for example, let's say somebody is very fond of eating ice cream. So the body's need is to get energy to function. So that is why the body becomes hungry. So its deficiency is to have some kind of a energy form or a substance that can be absorbed to generate energy, and that is the original need of the body. But our mind, because of Avijja, we like ice cream, have given value to ice cream because of the Nitya Sukha Subha mindset, and that has made our mind deficient for ice cream. And of course, our mind is connected to the body is connected to the mind, so the body is also made deficient. This is called Anya Manya Pratya. So one is influence to the other, and other one is again influence to the first one. First thing influences the second thing again influences the first thing, because the second thing is also altered from the first action. So this back and forth interaction makes our body also deficient, and now we want ice cream. For real. Now our body also wants ice cream. So that is the part we have to get rid of. We cannot get rid of the part where our body needs energy, because it is the nature of our body. That's why even Arihats needs food. But Brahmas does not need, because their body is different. Because even though they are not Arihats, they don't have that feeling of wanting to eat food. So taking this example, what we have to understand is it is that deficiency, the bodily deficiency, when it comes to lustful thoughts as well. It is this bodily deficiency. Of course, there's a mental component. Mental component is what creates this bodily deficiency. That's why in Arihats, they don't have this bodily deficiency, because it is, if we remember about our small days, like 5 years old, 2 years old, maybe 7, 8 years old, we did not have this problem. It is that it is some would say that it is the hormonal changes, and they would say that it is, of course, physical, not mental. But if somebody is not exposed to any of these details, some people might not develop these too, even though they have these hormonal levels. They would not develop it into that extent, because they don't have that conditioning of the mind to those elements, those to that side. So that's why when somebody becomes an Arihat, the viewpoint is changed. Viewpoint changes, the deficiency of the mind. When the deficiency of the mind changes, again the anya manya pratya acts into play. So the mind's deficiency is reduced, and that in fact affects the bodily deficiency. So the bodily deficiency gets reduced, and the reduction of the bodily deficiency would again impact the mind, and it would help more for the mental equilibrium. So the mind would get more and more normal, or more and more calmer, and that calm nature would affect the body as well, and this would go back and forth to a level that the mind and body both are in just peaceful situation, where the mind and body is not deficient and is not seeking any outside images, sounds, smells, taste, or touches. So that is what the end goal, and that is how this mechanism works. So what we have to understand with this is we have to get rid of the mental deficiency and has to use samadhi, because samadhi acts as a tool that balances or reduces this deficiency, of course, in the mind as well as in the body. So the bodily deficiency is tackled, is addressed to a greater extent if somebody is able to practice samadhi. That's why Cheto Vimukti becomes the key component to eliminate raga. So one can, when somebody has developed a samadhi at least to a level, then that samadhi, if somebody is having any experiences about samadhi, that person's hunger or the urge to have food goes down. That's why monks can only, of course, monks who practice meditation, they does not eat too much once a day, once a meal, or lesser than that. Some only have once a meal in every 2 days. So that kind of extreme practices are not practiced with extreme effort. They do it because it is easier for them, because they don't have that urge to eat. They do not get hungry. If you have read what the story about the Kassapa Buddha and Gatikara. Gatikara was the main devotee, or the main person who supplied Sivapasa for the just like the Anathapindika Situ in our Buddha Sasana. So he is the main person who supplied Chivara, Pindapata, Gilanapach, and Besajja. So these 4 things. So, but and in one instance, because of a dana he did, actually what happened was his the Supreme Buddha's hut, or the kuti, was not properly covered with this. The roof was not properly finished. So when it rains, water leaks inside. Supreme Buddha asked, go and take the roofings of Gatikar, and he has already allowed it. So the bhikkhus go and take the roofing material of Gatikar and applies it to the Supreme Buddha's kuti. And the blind mother and father of Gatikar hears someone is on the roof and trying to remove the roofing material from the roof. So they ask, who is this? And the bhikkhu says, it's us. And Supreme Buddha said to bring this to repair his kuti. And they recite sadhu sadhu. And because of the meritorious power and the pasada chitta that it generated, it says that they did not get hungry for whole 1 week because of the samadhi, kind of samadhi and the prasada chitta that it created. And after hearing this from the mother and father, Gatikara, it says that he did not get hungry for 2 weeks, as I can remember. I can't remember the exact time period, 2 or 4 weeks. I cannot remember that exactly. Anyway, it's a huge time period. Just like that, when samadhi is developed, somebody's need or urge to have food goes down. Again with these lustful needs, and again with the need to sleep. So the need to sleep reduces, need to eat reduces, and this sensual need for sensual pleasures, it also reduces to a minimum level. So that is why it controls and makes our body and brings our body to a very good equilibrium. And what if we become like what if our body becomes like a body of a Brahma? Then we would not have that urge to eat. Just like in the process of eating, just like in Brahmas, they do not need to eat. The arihats or the people who are practicing these samadhi levels also would have that. Of course, it's an artificial environment, but it is very helpful to practice wisdom. So this artificial environment would be created because of the samadhi, and that environment, what we call by that environment is the body is in an equilibrium, so that they do not need, our body is in a balance, and not in a deficiency, so that they do not need these external objects to satisfy the deficiency that the body has. But this is not over yet. In that samadhi, we are practicing wisdom and trying to go into the root causes and eliminate the root causes, so that when the root is gone, there's no way that tree can come to life again. So we are removing the basic things, or we are removing the culprit. We are removing the seed that gives rise to this tree of raga. So that is why we need to practice, we need to focus on samadhi to, if we are having this problem, of course. So now, with that understanding, how this occurs, we have to go now address on the Ditti Viparita. So Ditti Viparita is about when somebody has understood anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and the original form of avijja, or the default is nicca, sukha, atta, subha, and that viewpoint is changed after listening to Dhamma from a Kalyana Mitra, and the viewpoint changes to Lokottara Samma Ditti, which is anicca, dukkha, anatta, and asubha. So when somebody understands that all of this is due to causes and effects, and nothing is according to our, cannot be controlled according to our expectation, and the experiencing of pleasures is just a pointless process where we are just going through a process of suffering. It is the suffering of deficiency, and the suffering that we experience to fulfill that deficiency, which is sankhara dukkha, and the addition of those two deficiencies, or the combination of those two deficiencies, is what gives rise to this delusional feeling of blissfulness, and that blissfulness cannot be maintained and results in jaramarana. That is viparinama dukkha. So 3 dukkha's. So we are focusing on Ditti Viparita based on the question. The question was, there was a model by the side of the road, and one is developing impure thought because of that sight. So if we apply it and try to see this scenario in an Arya way to get the Ditti Viparita out of the system, you have to see like this. So if I am seeing this model, I am seeing a rupa, and when I see a rupa, if I develop some blissfulness and decides that I want this blissfulness to last, and I want to experience this blissfulness again and again, that is Chandaraga. And when that feeling is occurring, now we have to change it into the correct view or Arya view. And in the Arya view, we have to go to the mechanism and see how this blissfulness is created. So how does it create? It is created because we have already created this deficiency in our body and in our mind. Mind, because we think that it is Nitya Sukha Subha. We think it is valuable. We do not see the illusion of how these components comes into comes together to create some illusional shape, illusion. It's basically an illusion because Apo Tejo Vayo Patavi, we can say Suddhashtaka, or we can say whatever the building blocks comes into places, and that itself creates this illusion, and that itself we decide that this is a niche, or this is valuable. Niche Sukha Atta Subha. It can give Sukha, it can niche Sukha Atta. It is essential, full of essence, and it is can be controlled according to expectation. But in reality, it is just accumulation of Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi in different ratios, and due to this accumulation, there are various shapes, curves, and colors, color combinations, and that is what gives rise to this illusional view. And based on that view, we decide, we develop a blissful feeling, because we know Avijja, Pachya, Sankara, and that viewpoint is Avijja. So Nicha Sukha Atta Subha. So valuable when we have this mindset where we think that the external object is valuable, that Avijja, Pachya, Sankara, that action of creating thoughts develops a mindset which is, we can say, a mindset that is deficient, or let's say in this scenario it is just sight. So a mindset is created which needs to see this image, or this image again and again. So image deficient mindset is created. So image deficiency leads to nama rupa, and that nama rupa leads to salayatana, which is a deficient ayatana, which is a deficiency in body, or in eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So a deficient organ system is created, and that deficient organ system, when touched with the image, creates a altered sensation of happiness, or a positive blissful sensation, which is altered because the body is altered in a way to receive that touch in a positive way. So tanha occurs, or the attachment occurs, and upadana occurs, and decides that I have to experience this again and again because it's blissful, because it's valuable, because it gives a very good sensation. Because nicha, sukha is the idea, atta, essential is the idea. So these ideas gives us the conclusion that we should associate with these things again and again, and that leads to this kind of a bhava, this kind of a state of being where we are obsessed with seeing these types of images, and that leads to a raga bhava and a raga jati, and of course that ends up in jara marana, and jara marana leads to soka parideva dukkha domana supayasa sambhavanti, because we created something blissful, we created something very dear to us. In thinking in that line, that Paticcasamuppada created something very valuable, precious, and important, and we don't want that to ever stop. We don't want that to get destroyed, but it is the nature. So the Jara Marana is inevitable, and that leads to a disappointment, soka, parideva, dukkha domana supayas, and we cannot we don't like to stay in that depressed state. So we start avijja, pachya, sankara, and we do various sankara to keep on experiencing, or to associate with these images again and again as long as possible. So we continue the same Patisampada Chakra one after another to cover up that depressed state of Soka Parideva Dukkha Domana Supayasa. Again and again we create Sankara. We move our head, we turn our eyes, we do various things, we go after the image and we try to somehow experience that external object as long as possible. But again, this is not going in a good path, because when we do that, the Sankara would become more powerful, so the Vijnana would become more powerful, so Salayatana also would get more powerful. So all of these are vexatious items. This Vijnana would be a vexatious item because that Vijnana would not leave us alone. It would hurt us. It would tell us all the time that we should see these images and we should associate with these items, because it is a deficient mindset. Deficient mindset leads to deficient nama rupa, and this nama rupa would get embedded in this mindset, and that mindset would always race towards those items, and our mind would become like a factory which always asks for items again and again. These items which are this is all because we created this mindset and we made it powerful as well by doing it again and again. So what happened? Avijja pacca sankara, sankara pacca vijnana, vijnana pacca nama rupa pacca salayatana, salayatana pacca passo, and the passa would also become very vexatious, and the vedana would become more intense, because the deficiency is more when we are more thirsty. When we drink water, we feel more relaxed. When we are less thirsty, the relaxation is less. So when the deficiency is more, when the salayatana is more charged, the result or the vedana would be more blissful, and the attachment would be even higher now, and the desire to experience these types of images again and again would be more profound and more high. So the bhava would be powerful, jati would be powerful, and in fact the soka parideva dukkha domanaso upayasa would be more powerful. Also, again, in other words, suffering would be more powerful. So in a way, we can decide that our expectation has not been met, because our expectation was to experience blissful thoughts, but it never happened. Instead, we were stuck in a cycle of suffering, which is called patisampada. And we experience not sukha, but dukkha. So we can decide it is not nicca, but anicca. We can decide it is not sukha, but dukkha. We can decide it is not atta, but anatta. This is a pointless, essenceless journey or pursuit to uh, to perceive, to grab onto blissful experiences, but it goes wrong every time that when we focuses on avijja and avijja parisampada. So again, we have now understood that it is anicca, dukkha, anatta, and asubha. So that is the viewpoint that one changes, and that viewpoint would never ever change for that person. When that person sees this correctly, that is just one time thing. When somebody sees this correctly, that person does not need to see it again. He sees all the things, images, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, all the things are experienced in the same way that we have discussed. And there's no other way to experience blissfulness other than this pointless Patisamuppada method. So there's no need to go after that. That is the basic idea which is understood with Ditti Viparita. It is eliminated when somebody eliminates Ditti Viparita. So then there's the next step. And in the next step, what happens? We are focusing on Sanya Viparita. So even though one has understood this basic, one has this basic understanding about the reality, he or she has practiced that wrong method for so long, so original thinking pattern comes to them, comes to us all the time. So when that comes, we have to use filter and process them in a very in a Arya manner, so that it so that our behavioral pattern, so we can call them habits. So our habitual nature of seeing the world with avijja is changed for good to a new Arya way. So for this we use Kusala Mula Patisampada. So this is what is happening in the background. Now we don't need to know this. What we need to do is we need to practice it. When it comes to Ditti Viparita, when it comes to elimination of Ditti Viparita, it is just practical things that we have to do. Very simple practical things we have to do to eliminate these wrong thinking patterns. We have to modify these wrong thinking patterns which are based on avijja in a Arya way. So we use Nitya Sukha Subha all the time. We have to use Anicca Dukkha Anatta Subha all the time when that wrong mindset arises. So what we do is we practice Kusala Mula Pacchaya Sankara. Again, Sankara Pacchaya Vijnana. So what initially there was that valuable vijnana. So valuable vijnana means we become deficient for the external item, because if it is valuable, we want it. That is the nature of all the sattva. If something is valuable, I want to achieve it. I want to obtain it. I want to experience it. So instead of valuable or avijja vijnana, we create Vijja Vijnana or Kusala Mula Vijnana. Kusala Mula is again Anicca Dukkha Anatta Asubha. So the value is reduced to zero. We see that there's no value with wisdom in that Vijnana. And when that is happening, that makes our deficiency reduced, and it gets us to zero level. And that zero level would not entertain those wrong Namarupa. Instead, they would see these exact same Namarupa images, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and smells. Those would be perceived in an Arya way, in a valueless way, in a pointless way. And the Salayatana would become calmer to see Dhamma. Dhamma point would be experienced. So the mind would become not deficient for external entities, but deficient for more and more Dhamma. So Dhamma would be touched, Dhamma would be felt, and Dhamma would be experienced as blissful. That is called, in a way, it is called Priti Sambojjhanga, Pasadi Sambojjhanga. And these would be developed, and this would lead to Pasado. Now attachment is not happening because we are experiencing, we are comprehending on the exact fact that this world is not something that we should get attached to. So attachment would not occur at that point. Instead of attachment, there would be pasado. Pasada pachaya adimokko, and that would become the main, or it would become more powerful. Adimokko. Adimokko leads to bhava. Dhamma seeing state of being, Dhamma seeing bhava. Dhamma seeing jati. Again would be destroyed with jara marana. But exact same idea, which is anicca dukkha anatta asubha, which is the valueless nature, was what created this jati. So jara marana would not lead to soka. Instead, So of Soka Parideva Dukkha Domana Supayasa, it would lead to Eva me tesanam Dhammanam samudaya hoti. So this Dhamma seeing Paticca would be created and would get eliminated, and no Soka Parideva at that point. So instead of the first Paticca, which is Avijja, which is based on Avijja, we create the second Paticca, and we have to do this consistently. We have to continue this for a consistent period without stopping, without having loopholes. And if we do that in that manner, it says that this becomes this dukkha patipada, where our body is deficient of external things, becomes a sukha patipada, where our body is now in an equilibrium and our mind is in samadhi. So to change that, these are just core concepts. So to understand what we have to do, we need to understand the core concepts first. So we have already gone through all the core concepts that we need to understand to tackle this problem. So to get rid of Sanya Viparita, now we have to focus on the practical approach, practical things that we should focus on. So again, back to the question, back to what the question mentioned. In the question, it mentions about the Dvatinsakara Manasikara, or dividing this body into parts and dividing it into and visualizing these parts and trying to see the disgusting nature of this body. Now that is not the way. Now what we are doing is we have to see that this body is made up of these 32 things. What are these 32 things? Kesa, hair; loma, body hair; naka, nails; danta, teeth; tacho, this skin. So these 5 is also enough. Five of those components are the things actually that we see of a person, because we cannot see the kidneys, we cannot see the lungs. We are not attached to the lungs as well. We are not attached to the kidneys. We are not attached to the bowels. No, we are attached to the external appearance. So external appearance is created with kesa, loma, naka, danta, tacho. So the body hair, teeth, skin, and nails. Now what we do is we are not seeing that the teeth is disgusting. Teeth should not be entertained. No, not like that. Our meditation should not go like that. But we are saying this is just teeth. What is there to get attached to? We are not seeing it in a disgusting way. We are not developing dosa instead of raga, but we are trying to see the reality. If we are practicing the method of division, we just have to see that this hair, there's nothing to get attached to this hair. So we remove the hair from the person and put it on the side. We remove the body hair also on the person and put it on the side. Now we remove the nails as well and put it on the side. And we remove the teeth as well and put it on the side. And we remove the skin as well and put it on the side. And we see the remaining thing in our mind, in our imagination. What is there to get attached to? Why am I getting attached to something like this? So is there something that I can get attached to in the things that I removed? Now we are focusing on that side as well. Teeth. No, there's nothing to get attached to in this teeth. There's nothing valuable. There's nothing sukha here. There's nothing atta here, essential here. There's nothing that can fulfill my expectations here. So this is of anicca, dukkha, anatta, asubha nature. There's nothing to get attached to here. This teeth is just essenceless, and we keep it aside again. These nails, again the same story. This skin, there's nothing to get attached to in this skin. There's nothing to get attached to in this hair. There is nothing to get attached to in this body here. So we put those 5 things back into the body. We apply the skin, we apply the nails, we apply the teeth, we apply the body hair, and again, finally, hair. So when we do that, again, we see that illusional image which deceives us into developing dukkha, suffering nature. So again, we divide and see. Now, there's nothing to get attached, but when it comes together, it just deceives me. The mind is deceived. So we, to see through that deception, we are dividing and we are applying it back again, and dividing and applying it back again, and seeing the illusional nature. We don't have to focus on the smell, focus on everything like that, but it also can help in a way initially, but it is not the way until the very end. So after that, what we have to think, or the focus of thinking should always be in a wise way, or in a way that uplifts wisdom. So we have to always question our decision of this world is blissful, this image is blissful. So we have to always use our thinking pattern in a way to challenge that. Of course, we are using the reality, so it should always get challenged if we are using the correct methodology. So in this methodology, what we did was we divided it and saw that there's no basis for us to get attached, for us to see something valuable in this item that decays and dies, in this object that has nothing useful, nothing valuable. So focus on that way, and that is how we should practice this this meditation. Now we should not stop there. Now when somebody does that, somebody can develop, again, as you have very correctly described in the question, some can develop feelings of distress, disgust, something like that. So we are not just stopping there. We are using the method of Dhatu Manasikara as well. So we divide it into 4 components, which is Apo. We are not feeling disgust about Apo, Tejo, Vayo, and Patavi. So again, these items are made of these 4 things. So if somebody gives us a piece of their nails, or if we were given some plucked or clipped nails and put it, if someone puts it on our palm, we feel disgust. If somebody puts some of the trimmed hair on our hand, we can feel a feeling of disgust. If somebody puts a part of their skin, or dead skin or something on our hand, we feel disgust. Now that should also go away, not just raga but dosa. So these 2 meditation methods should be combined in a way. So we divided it and it got us out of raga, and then we practice Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi as well. Some practice just directly Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi if it helps. So this world is, again, this body, this person is made of Apo. Now there's nothing to get attached to that Apo. This piece of hair, this clipped nail is made of Apo. Why should I get disgusted if it is Apo? Why should I get disgusted if it is Tejo, Vayo, Patan? There's nothing different from the Apo of the earth and of this nail. There's no difference between the Tejo of the surrounding and Tejo of this nail. There's no difference between the Patavi and again Vayu that are in the surrounding and that are in this nail. So if there's no difference, why am I not feeling disgust for the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu in the surrounding, but feeling disgust for this small clipped nail or the small or a piece of hair that I am having in my hand? There's nothing to feel disgusted. So again, it develops to a point where someone would not be disgusted or again attached. Both parts would be gone. That is the importance here. Would not get attached or disgusted by any of the body parts. Even if the person was hand over the kidney, a part of the liver, that person would just see this item as it is, would not get disgusted by it. Even a piece of feces would not be a thing that a person would start gagging on. Instead, that person would see the reality here. So the both sides should go away. So we focus on Asubha in this manner. So there are various methods people can use. One is now in Kayanupassana of Sahasatipatthana Sutta, there are various methods, and these methods can be used accordingly in various situations based on each person's personality and each person's situation at that moment. So when we use this for a certain period of time, just do not just limit our thinking to a certain area, but have a very open mind and try to tackle this problem. The new problem that comes to you should be tackled with all the Dhamma wisdom that you have inside you. You just don't try to be very methodical and try to be a person who practices what's in the book, but of course use the book as a guidance, but try to approach it in your own way using the wisdom that you have obtained from outside. So when a fresh problem comes to you, you have to just use the core concepts, always based on, you have to think based on the core concepts and then try to create your own way of tackling the problem. So for example, what I personally find very easy is the Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi method. So it is just a body or a person or an individual made of Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi, Akasa and Vinyan. So 6 items. Apo, again, no difference between Apo of the environment and Apo of which creates this person. Tejo, Vayo, Patavi, for all the 4 components that creates this world and this person or a sattva are not different. There's nothing new, nothing different in this body and in this environment. So why am I feeling something different for the Apo component, for the Tejo component, for the Vayu, for the Patavi component, which is stagnant, which is combined or associated together to form this shape of a person. Now, Patavi, which is in the ground, through mother, through the food that the person eats, came to the body. There's no other way that Patavi came to that certain body. And that Patavi, when the person dies, would join the Patavi of the earth. And it does not say that it belongs to this certain person. There's no name written on that Patavi saying that this Patavi belongs to this person. And it is the same when it came to the body and when it leaves the body. It is the same for Tejo, Vayo, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi, all the four of them as well. So why there is a very different value given for the Patavi component of the person and not for the Patavi component of the earth? We don't find this rock that important. We don't find the Patavi nature of that rock important. But when we contrast it with the person, we find that person's Patavi component very important. But since it is made of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu and nothing else, so what are we giving value to is the problem. If Patavi of that person, Tejo, Vayu, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Patavi, all four does not have value, then what are we giving value to would be the next question. So then it makes us clear in a very wise way that it is just an illusion and we are just in a wrong viewpoint and a wrong way of seeing this world and should be changed immediately would be the conclusion after that. So it's not just Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Patavi, but Akasa. Akasa is the space that it occupies. Again, the space that it occupies and the space in the surrounding has no difference. Just like Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Patavi. And then the final one is Vinyana, and Vinyana is tricky because we cannot feel it. It is in the Nama realm, not in the Rupa realm. Rupa realm is physical, but the Nama realm is metaphysical. So when it comes to the metaphysical realm, and when it comes to Nama, when it comes to this Vinyana Dhatu, Apo Dhatu, Tejo Dhatu, Vayo Dhatu, Patavi Dhatu, and the final one is the Vinyana Dhatu. Vinyana Dhatu is also due to touch, because Vinyana can be divided into 6 components. Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jivha, Kaya, Mano. Apart from these 6 Vinyana, now there are various categorizations of Vinyana. Vinyana can be called as just one Vinyana, and then we can divide Vinyana into 6 components, Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jivha, Kaya, and Mano. So there are various types of dividing Vinyana. So instead of those 6 Vinyanas, Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jivha, Kaya, and Mano, we cannot find any other Vinyanas. So what is the result of Chakku Vinyana? Chakkuncha paticca rupecha uppajjati Chakku Vinyana. So the collision of eye and the rupa or the image results in Chakku Vinyana. It is the collision of the ears and the sound which results in the sota, and the pattern follows up until Mano Vinyana. So it is the collision or the touch. Touch is the reason for Vinyana. So if you focus if you have your focus in this part, because this becomes finer, this becomes very tricky when it comes to Vijnana. So in Vijnana, it is that touch that results in Vijnana. What is the reason for touch? If we go a step further back, so some images, when some images are touched with eye, it results in Sukha Vedana. Some results in neutral Vedana, and some results in Dukkha Vedana. So the touch, the collision of eye and the image, or the external organs and internal organs, that is dependent on karma, energy, karmic energy. So karmic energy results in touch, results in Vijnana. So we have to understand we cannot have Vijnana according to our expectation. So when that is understood, we can understand very well that it is the karmic energy, the past doings. So when this again a ring of fire is seen when a ball of fire is rotated in a very high speed. So we feel that this can be controlled according to expectation, but it is a karmic energy. Then when we go back again, karmic energy how that happened. Again, avidya, paccaya, sankara resulted in the karmic energy. So again, a process, a very complex process resulted in karmic energy. A process of paticcasamuppada resulted in karmic energy, and that resulted in the currently experienced touch, which gives rise to the vinyana, chakku, sota, gana, jivha, kaya, and mano. When that is the case, how can we say that this vinyana is also according to our expectation, is blissful? Because no, we don't have control to experience what we want. It is just an illusion. So that when that illusion is seen, we see that people are just puppets of karmic energy and avijja. And the apo tejo vayo patavi is what controls is controlled by that puppet nature of vinyana. So a process of nama, a process of paticcasamuppada, a process of avijja, paccaya, sankara, and so on, controls this person or this entity that we call as a person, or a combination of apo, tejo, vayo, patavi. These four elements are controlled by this vinyana component. So that conclusion itself gets out of that blissful mindset. So the blissful mindset is eliminated. Essential, the Atma mindset is eliminated. So that is why it says it is not suitable to take it as me because it's the Patavi. It is not suitable to take it as mine because it belongs to this world, not us. Cannot say that it is ours, this Patavi, because it never belonged to us. It was a part of the earth, and it is also now also it is just a part of the earth, and it would go back to the earth when we die. It is the same for Tejo, Vayo, Patavi. So we cannot say it is mine. We cannot say it is me, because if it is me, we cannot. The better word is it is not suitable to take it as me, because there's this nothing end and everything end. So we should always be cautious to not to fall onto nothing end or everything end. So we are not saying there's no me, there's nothing called mine, there's nothing called my soul. Instead, we see it is not suitable to take it as me, because to take something as me, we should have the fundamental ability to control it according to our expectation. Or in other words, there should be the niche nature. So since that is not there, it is not suitable to take this thing as me or this thing as mine, because it never belonged. It is just a mental construct that we think that this combination of apo, tejo, vayo, patavi, akasa, vinyana belongs to an entity called me or us. So that is again the second one. It is not suitable to take it as my soul, because it never lasts even 1 second. So there's no everlasting, constant, one single entity called an Atma, or a single entity called me to hang on to take decisions. In a flick of a second, or maybe a 1 millionth of a flick of a second, this body and this mind is destroyed and deleted, or again, in other words, jara marana happens. So again, it is not suitable to take it as my soul. And when we apply it to ourselves, it is very easy to apply it to other people as well. So when we see other people, we can see that for them also it's the same thing. It's just a part of the earth. It's just a part of the it is just an energy, due to karmic power, which is always refueled with avijja. So that is the puppet that I see on this road, moving, talking due to avijja. If the viewpoint is if the person is having a good day, or if the person is liking what the person sees, the pleasant outcome comes, and the facial expressions, body language, talking, tone of talking, and everything comes out according to that kind of a patisamuppada. So that patisamuppada leads to a calm and quiet person. So if the person is getting angry because of some negative experience, negative karmic energy has led to a negative touch, leading in a negative vinyana, and that vinyana, and based on that vinyana, avijja paccaya sankara has led to a dosa paticca samuppada, and that dosa jati is expressed to the outside world as an angry person whose face is red and shouting out harsh words in a very raised voice, and the body language is very out of the place as well. And we see that type of that type of apo tejo vayo patavi moving in the space, moving in the moving around, and that is due to that type of patisamuppada. So when we try to see it like that, the person like that, you see, why should I get attached to something like this? I am also something like that, and the other person is also something like that. There's nothing to get attached to. And that is the very most important part. We see all of this not to go after that mechanism, but to see we have to get out of this attachment nature, because it is what creates suffering. Dukkha samudaya arya satya. In dukkha samudaya arya satya, the dukkha samudaya arya satya is attachment, tanha, kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. So all of this is to get rid of that. We always have to remember that. Otherwise, we would go in some other directions and start focusing on mechanisms and how that happens and how this happens, and go deeper and deeper into more mechanisms, and all the things would become more complex. So instead of doing that, use this method, use this theory, just to get out of that attachment, get out of that attaching nature, the Nicha Sukhatta Subha mindset. So all of this is to finally, to summarize everything, all of this is to get out of Nicha mindset, or get out of Sukha mindset, get out of Atta, essential, valuable mindset. So if someone can achieve that, then that person has achieved the goals of this exercise. So that is again now chitta viparita, then the sanya viparita is gone when somebody has done this over and over again and was able to change the weaving habit to a arya nature. For example, when avijja paccaya sankara happens, the vinyana becomes a avijja vinyana. Kusala mula paccaya sankara happens, the vinyana becomes a kusala mula vinyana. And the nama rupa after that vinyana, for avijja it is avijja nama rupa, and for kusala mula it is kusala mula nama rupa. So what happens with practicing more and more kusala mula is the vinyana starts to develop from 1% to 2% to 3% to, and it goes on developing to like 50%. And when it becomes 51%, along with it increasing with the percentage, when it becomes 1%, the other black vinyana, which is avijja vinyana, starts shrinking like 99%, 98%, 97%, 96%. Likewise, it becomes shrinked, and the other one starts developing. And there comes a point that the power of these two vinyanas turns upside down. So the white Vijnana or the Kusala Mula Vijnana becomes 51% and the Avijja Vijnana becomes 49%. And then the Kusala Mula Vijnana would take over and the person would start seeing more and more things in a Arya way. Because the Nama Rupa that get embedded in Kusala Mula Vijnana are again white Nama Rupa, not black Nama Rupa. So the person would, after developing this habit for a considerable period of time, the person would start seeing the things in a Arya way. So even if somebody is walking by the side of the road, that person would not get that wrong Nama Rupa because that person has practiced it so well. The correct Nama Rupa would come and would see it in Anicca Dukkha Anatta Asubha manner. So when it is completed, we call that Sanya Viparita is also gone. For that kind of a person, we call them Anagami. So after Anagami, up until Arihat, we have this Chitta Viparita. Chitta Viparita is the problem with Asmimana. So we address that as well. When somebody is seeing that there's nothing, it is not suitable to take this entity as me, mine, or my soul, or my Atma. When that is practiced, and when the Asmi Mana, Uddacca, Avijja, the final three components of 10 Sangyojana is eliminated, that is what eliminates Chitta Viparita. Now what we have to focus on is, this is like just going up a staircase, we have to focus on the stair that is immediately above us. So focus on Ditti Viparita, Sanya Viparita, and the final one, which is Chitta Viparita, would make sense more and more when one starts progress on the point which we are already in. We have to work our way. We don't have to think about far away. We just have to think about right now. What are the problems right now? What are the defilements that are occurring, that are developing in me right now? So if I tackle these problems one by one, then I would be able to develop it, or I would be able to in other words, it will automatically develop to the extent where I am in the last step of the staircase. And when I'm in the last step of the staircase, nobody needs to tell me, or nobody needs to tell us what to do to get to the final step, because it's the same thing we have to do. It's the same thing of stepping on the stairs and going higher up, and that same pattern should be repeated up until the end of the staircase. So just like that, we have to practice this Arya Dhamma, and that is the answer for the question that was sent to the WhatsApp chat. If you have any follow-up questions regarding that, I think I covered all the things that are needed for everyone to practice this Asubha meditation. But if something is not clear, or if someone needs more examples on how to do it, if you want something more, then please feel free to send some, feel free to put your ideas into the chat group. And there's 1.0. The one thing we should remember is that cultivating Asubha Sanya is not cultivating Patigha, feeling disgusted or irritated towards the physical body, in my opinion. Asubha nature is deeply related to Anatta nature. And Anatta is deeply related to other three natures. You can say all are interconnected. We cannot say that, yeah, it is normal to feel like this, because depending on each one's Indriya Anatta, the different levels of Indriya, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, one would understand or perceive anicca, dukkha, anatta. I understand anicca more, I understand dukkha more, I see the connection like this and that. That could be there, but the reality is these are all evenly powerful components and evenly powerful characteristics that explains this world. So anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and asubha, we can divide it into 4 as well. So these are just like a equal square. So each side is equal, and there are 4 corners to the square, and one corner is anicca, one is dukkha, and one is anatta, and one is asubha. So these are equal, but one would understand that anicca is, dukkha is, or anatta is more deeply related to that and this and that and back and forth, because each one's understanding is different based on each one's indriya anatta. So yeah, you can feel like that, but the thing is, asubha is also connected with anicca, also connected with dukkha, but each and every individual can feel differently. The other question, if one faces an attractive or desired effect, result, accomplishment with his strong efforts, but the one still has a ditti, doesn't understand the truth about all opinion, occurs according to Patisampada, the cause and condition, effect, not by one's will. He also can face a strong Uddacca kukucha and mana. Back to the former point, we should do what we should do is understand the true nature characteristics of the world, including asubha nature. It is nonsense to desire the worldly things in greedy attitude. Yeah, if one faces an attractive or desired effect, result, or accomplishment with his strong effort, but yeah, that is correct. Now this is the basic idea of anicca. So one can develop, or one can have the desired effect as a result or an accomplishment, but the thing is, all of them were delivered to that person because of this causes and effects theory of through the theory of causes and effects. So if that person does not know that, that person still has not developed the yoniso manasikara or the sati, samma sati. Even if the person can have the correct viewpoint and was in micha, was not in the mindfulness. If the mindfulness was not there, the person can think in the old-fashioned way, which is the avijja way. But as soon as the person understands that I was just not being mindful, my samadhi was out of the place, and then again that person would understand, no, my achievement, my everything I got was again through an anicca process. Now, it is also not based on nature characteristics. It also did not. I did not achieve it through a nature environment. So that can lead to Uddacca kukucha. So it can lead to Uddacca first. When it becomes Uddacca kukucha, it becomes a defilement. It becomes a akusala. So initially it is Uddacca. So person thinking that he did and he did that and he did this and that and everything, mana and Uddacca would come. So mana would come, the person would have a superiority complex, and the Uddacca would come that I am able to do anything like this sort, anything that is of this sort, and there's no problem for a person like me. So with that mindset, the kukucha would come. But when something happens against that Uddacca, Uddacca would come. So when something happens against that Uddacca Kukucha can arise very easily in a person like that. So when the Uddacca Kukucha arises, that person is no longer in a good situation, can do all the 10 immoral actions of or can do all the 10 akusala. Yeah. So that I answered the question. Feel free to put anything if you want to discuss. And there was another question which was sent to me. Discuss that as well. So if you can share these images, I think that would be easier for everyone to understand what the question is about. Theruvan Saranai, how I have a question. I remember the 23 stages of Moha and other things that you taught me. I don't know how to express this in words, but is it possible to divide it like this? Avijja is value. Yes, you can say that. Moha is mana or ego. Actions or illusions like mana and ego. Can I divide like this? Is it possible to divide like this? Divide. Can I understand the terms by making some distinction in this sense? This may be not a very specific question, but I like to ask. And there was another question, and there was a picture sent. I think the picture is already in the group. So in the picture it says Avijja, mana and ego, moha, vichikiccha, uddacca, vichikiccha, and uddacca, then dosa and raga. So Moha is the river of Sita that we constantly compare or wonder about because of Avijja. And I would like to double check that. So I'll draw this. I'll have to get this 23 stages of Moha. So Moha can be, so Tatta Katama Avijja. So Avijja is explained like this. This is in Abhidhamma. So we don't need to go into very detail in this, but I'll tell you as since you asked. So young Adassanam, young Ajnana. So Ajnana, what is Ajnana? Ajnana is not knowing the Four Noble Truths. Dukkha Ajnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Ajnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Ajnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipadaya Ajnanam. So the not knowing of these 4 items, young Ajnanam, that is called young Ajnanam. Adassanam. Adassanam means the person has not seen it. Anabhisamayo, Ananubodho, Asambodho, Appativedo, Asangahana, Apariyogahana, Asampekkana, since these are English, I am taking the English one, so I might pronounce this in wrong ways. So Appaka Vekana. So likewise it goes and Dummejang, Balyang, Asampajanam, Asampajana, then Moho, Pamoho, Sammoho, Avijja, Avijja Ogo, Avijja Yogo, Avijjanusayo, Avijja Pariuttanam, Avijja Rangi, Moho Akusala Mula. So Moho Akusala Mulang is the final stage. Moho Akusala Mulang is the Akusala Mula which results in Panatipata, Adinadana, and stuff, all the 10 immoral actions. So we become impure with Dummejang. Up until the stage of Dummejang, we are not impure. But after Dummejang, Balyang means the person becomes inferior. Asampajanam, now the person cannot think straight. Moho, and it becomes more stronger, called Pamoho, Sammoho. Sam means Raga, Dosa, Moha, and Moha. It combines with Raga, Dosa, Moha. Then we call that Sammoho. And then only we call Avijja, Avijja Yogo. But this is again the whole expression of Avijja as well. So we divide it into Avijja. Avijja is divided into 23 parts. And in these 23 parts also there's Avijja again. So we have to understand that these are just stages of Avijja. The whole umbrella term Avijja can be divided into 23 stages. From stage 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, it becomes more stronger and stronger up until Dummejang. So because in Adasana, young Adasanam, the stage is like young Adasanam, young Ajnanam. So in these stages, it is just we would be able to again prevail or continue existing in blissful planes. But after Dummejang and Balyang, it is just the 4 hells. So that is the level of Moha or Avijja that drags one to the 4 hells. Dummejang, Balyang, Asampajanam, Moho, Pamoho, Sammoho, Avijja, Avijja Yogo, Avijja Ogo, Yogo, Avijjanusayo, Avijja Pariuttanam, Avijja Lanki, Moho, Akusala Mulang. So up until that, from Dummejang, it's just negative. So it becomes more and more negative. The mindset becomes, and in the last one, it is the Dasavattuka Mityaditti. So in the first one, it is the not knowing of Arya Noble Truths. So it is a spectrum. Spectrum is divided into 23 parts. So the important thing is here, the connection was made with Moha and Uddacca and Vichikicha. But the thing is, and Raga and Dosa. So I'll write it down so it would be easier for everyone to understand. I'll share the screen so everyone can see. Now here, there are 10 Sanyojan, and we are talking about the last 3. Avijja, Mana, and Uddacca. This is again a triangle. These are the 3 points of the triangle, and this triangle is an equilateral triangle. It is equal. All the sides are equal. Avijja, Mana, and Uddacca. So if even one entity is gone, other 2 is also gone. These 3 are connected to each other. What is Avijja? Avijja is value. Or what is Avijja Anusaya? Avijja Anusaya is the thought that the external world or the world has something valuable. So if there's something valuable, so there's this thought, there is something valuable. So this is the idea. If this is the idea, then this is inevitable, because if there's something valuable, we have to measure. So measuring comes along with avijja. We cannot separate the two. And then with measuring, this is when the measuring goes wrong, or when the this is what leads to raga, this is what leads to moha, and this is what leads to dosa. Now here this is measuring, and when the measuring goes wrong, Uddacca, the primary initial stages of dosa. So initial stages of dosa, which is Uddacca comes. So avijja, there's something valuable and you measure, and if it goes as you expected, it goes in this way. If it did not go as expected, then this is the dosa. Dosa means do means second. Dosa means second mind, or mind enters into a second stage. What is the second stage? Second stage is conflict. First stage is raga or attachment. Second stage is conflict. Conflict is the result of not getting what the person wanted. What did the person want? Valuable things. Because the idea, the initial idea itself is there's something valuable. So that is the line of thinking avijja creates, and that itself makes the mind to measure the external things, find the external things, search the external things. So mana comes into action, and when that, it is just like a two sides of a coin. So when you measure, it can go either way. It can go as we expected, it can go the other way around, and results in conflict. And conflict is actually the initial stage of Uddacca is actually initial stage of conflict, and it can lead to patiga into dosa into revenge, and we call that vaira and baddha vaira. So the more powerful version of revenge, you can say vengeance. So likewise it goes on, it develops. So this is where all it starts. So raga, all the other sanyojana dhamma, sanyojana, are also created out of these three. What are those? Avijja, mana. So raga is divided into three parts: kama raga, rupa raga, and arupa raga. Kama, rupa, and arupa. See, now we have the first three: avijja, mana, uddacca. We have arupa raga and rupa raga here. So rupa raga, arupa raga. Then there's kama raga higher, the sixth one. So then the patika here, seventh one. Then the sakkaya ditti, vichikiccha, silabbata paramasa. So this belongs to the viewpoint. The wrong viewpoint is what creates that. So that is eliminated in when somebody is opened up the eyes of wisdom. So that is how I can summarize everything that has been explained in the question, or that has been presented in the question. So if I go through the question again and tell you what you need to change. Yeah, this one. So here, Avijja, you cannot just say that it is Mana. Avijja is not a result of Mana, actually. It is, can say, a manifestation of Avijja, Mana and Uddacca. Both are manifestations of Avijja. And Moha is actually Avijja, when we divide it into 23 stages, Moha is just included in Avijja. As we discussed, Dumme, Jam, Balyang, Moho, Sammoho, Pramoho, Avijja, Akusala Moolang, Moho, Akusala Moolang. Up until that, starting with young Ajnanam, all of that is Avijja. So Moha is included in Avijja. So Avijja, when it is developed to its fullest form, is called Moho Akusala Moola. So Moha, the initial seed that gives rise to the tree of Moha, is actually Ajnanam, or we can call the whole tree as Avijja. So Avijja, just like when you see a coin, you cannot see the coin that has only one side. Coin always comes with two sides. You have the head and you have the tail. You don't have coins with just head or just tail. You just have both sides to a coin. Just like that, when there's Avijja, Mana and Uddacca is inevitable, and they comes as a package, and all three comes together. So Mana, Avijja has this spectrum up until Moho Akusala Moola. And Mana, this is about Avijja. Avijja has this spectrum up until Moha Akusala Moola. So Moha is included in Avijja. Again, when Avijja arises, Mana and Uddacca is inevitable. And they also has their own two separate spectrums. And this spectrum, Mana leads to Raga, and it starts with Arupa Raga and leads to Rupa Raga, and finally to Kama Raga. And that is the spectrum of Mana. And we have a spectrum for Uddacca as well. Uddacca would lead to Patika, would lead to Dosa, and would lead to more severe forms of Dosa, like vengeance, revenge, evilness. Likewise, it goes on. So that is the spectrum of Uddacca. So it starts from a triangle and goes towards starts as a triangle like this. Like a triangle like this, and an evolution of the triangle goes like this up until Moho Akusala Moola. Here it goes to this side. Kamaraga, up until Kamaraga, and here up until Dosa, or we can say Vaira, or again the English word is revenge, vengeance. Likewise, it goes on and starts with here Avijja, Mana, and Uddacca. So that I hope that that's clear. Is there anything else regarding that? Yeah, there's yeah, it's just 23 stages. Yeah, okay. If there's anything else, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we have discussed all the questions that you have posted today. Yeah, okay. So here he sends another point. Just as we cannot control the 4 elements that make up this world, including the earth, we cannot control the Mahabhuta that make up our body, unlike my Atta perception. Yeah, that is why we have to look at the worldly things as Anatta nature. Attaching to worldly things is with a nature. The expectation mindset is nonsense. It also leads to an Asubha result. You can say vexatious result, a negative result as well. A very, very, very negative experience. If we can't see it that proper way, big dosa will pop up out with wrong expectation that we can control the enemy or overpower the opponent in retribution. Yeah, you can say. This is about this is about the Patisamuppada, the Moha Patisamuppada. Yeah, now in the Moha Patisamuppada, Uddacca and Vichikicha are used. That's right. So here, this is a different approach. We cannot combine the two approaches because Moha, the nature of Moha is not knowing the thing, what is correct or what is wrong. So when somebody does not know what is wrong and what is correct and what is wrong, that leads to doubt, or we can say it's a form of Vichikicha. So that is why here Vichikicha is used. Vichikicha tanha salayatana pacca passo, passa pacca vedana would lead to Vichikicha, as I can remember. So in Vichikicha, and the other one is it leads to Uddacca. In Uddacca, it is also due to Moha. So in the Patisamuppada, the explanation of Patisamuppada, Raga, Dosa, Vichikicha, and Uddacca are the way that it is divided into. And when it comes to 10 Sanyojana Dhamma, we cannot use that approach because Sanyojana are 10 different things or things that binds the sattva to the suffering sansara, and this is the action of Paticcasamuppada. So here the Vichikicha and the Uddacca are not the same thing. It has the same shape, but the entity wise we are not talking about the same thing. This Uddacca has the same nature, but we are in here we are expressing about Paticcasamuppada or a mechanism. So this is just one component of the mechanism, and in the other one, the Vichikicha or Uddacca, Manu-Uddacca, Avijja, the last 3 components, that is the final components or the bonds that should be eliminated to make someone free of this sansaric journey. To tell you about the chittas So there are 12 chitta. And as soon as one becomes Sotapanna, Vichikicha Sampayukta chitta, so there are like 8 chitta. It goes like there are 12 chitta, 8 Lobha chitta, 2 Dosa chitta, and 2 Moha chitta. And when somebody becomes Sotapanna, 4 Lobha chitta, 1 Dosa chitta, and 1 Moha chitta, as I can remember, is gone, is eliminated. So all the Ditti Sampayukta chitta, because the Ditti becomes cleaner, it becomes clean when someone becomes Sotapanna. So the Ditti Sampayukta chitta are eliminated. Somanasa Sahagatang, Ditti Sampayuktang, Chittang. Somanasa Sahagatang, Ditti Sampayuktang, Sasankarika Chittang. Likewise, there's this Upekka Sahagatang, Ditti Sampayuktang, Sampayukta Chittang. Upekka Sahagatang, Ditti Sampayukta, Sasankarika Chittang. So all those 4, along with Dosa Patiga Sampayuktang, Patiga Sahagatang, Ditti Sampayuktang Chittang. Likewise, there are 8, 4, 5, 6 chitta that are eliminated when somebody becomes Sotapanna. So there also in the Moha chitta, the 2 Moha chitta, one is Uddacca Sampayukta Chittang, the other one is Vichikicha Sampayukta Chittang. So the Vichikicha Sampayukta Chittang is eliminated in a Sotapanna. So this Patisampada for Vichikicha Sampayukta, because the person has got out of that Moha level. So we have discussed the 23 stages of Moha level. So the person would not go, I think, maybe out from up until the Akusala Moho Akusala Mulang to the Moho Akusala Mulang level, or maybe the Dummejan level. I haven't read this area that much, so, and I have not listened to that as well. So I'm not quite sure, but some of these 23 stages are just eliminated when somebody opens the eyes of wisdom. So with that, some of the Patisampajas of Moha are also eliminated. So this Vichikicha Sampayukta Chittang, most of that, or maybe all of that, would be eliminated when somebody becomes opens up the eyes of wisdom. But the Uddacca Patisampada has a very big spectrum and would last up until the last moment. And when only one becomes Arihat, that Uddacca, now that Uddacca is connected to the triangle. We draw the triangle. In that triangle, we draw a line out from the corner of the triangle. So up until the last bit, last point, this Uddacca, the Patisampada that you have sent to the group, that Uddacca lasts. And only with Avijja, Mana, Uddacca, all 3 are, when somebody becomes Arihat, all 3 will be gone along with Uddacca, and that is the end of Uddacca Patisampadas, all of them. But Uddacca has a spectrum, so it be again like the 23 stages of Moha, it becomes more and more and more. So since Raga, Dosa, Moha all are connected, interconnected, just like that's why it is a triangle. Triangle cannot last without the other 2. Triangle with just one corner is not just it is just a dot. It is not a triangle. Triangle should have 3 dots. So these 3 dots are interconnected, of course. So that's why you see Uddacca in the Moha Patisampada. So we cannot say that there's no. So if we talk about the Avijja Patisampada, Avijja Pacca Sankara, Sankara Pacca Vijnana, this is Raga Patisampada. Avijja Pacca Sankara, Sankara Pacca Vijnana, Vijnana Pacca Nama Rupa, Salayatanam, Passa, Vedana, Tanha. So in that, apart from we have to replace Vichikicha or Uddacca with Tanha. And in the Patika Patisampada, it is Patika. But again, Avijja, if we go through the 23 stages of Avijja, it has the components of Moha. Moha is always there because Avijja starts with, it is connected to Moha. So if the Moha level is so high, the Avijja would be in a, it would go like Avijja Pacha Apunya Abhisankara. So it is, when we talk about that, it is just Moha. We don't categorize it into pure Moha Paticcasamuppadas. But Moha is always there. If the Moha is Moha-Kayo Nibbana. So in a way, if Moha is eliminated, the person has attained Nibbana. So if the Nibbana is not attained, that means Moha is there. So when we talk about Avijja Paccaya Sankara, and if that Sankara is Apunya Abhisankara, so that is a very high level of Moha Akusala Moolang there. So Moha Akusala Moolang is acting with Sankara, Moha Akusala Moolang leads to Apunya Abhisankara, leads to Apunya Vivinyana, leads to Nama Rupa, Salayatana, Passa, Vedana, Tanha, and there's Moha at the beginning. We called it Avijja, but it is Moha Akusala Moolang. So in a way, someone can say, yes, now this is also Moha Patisampada. Why are you saying it as Raga Patisampada if it starts with Moha? No, since this categorization is different, we are categorizing it as Raga, Dosa, Moha, and this categorization is purely based on if it is purely of Raga nature. Now the categorization is based on that the thing is purely on Dosa nature and purely on Moha. So Raga and Dosa is not intervening when it comes to Uddacca and Vicikiccha. That's why they become purely Moha. So that is, I think that explains the answer. If you do, I hope you understand what I said. Okay, if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask on another day, or we can discuss it. If nobody is having any questions, we can. Okay, sure. So after revising, we can discuss again if you have any questions. And nobody is having any questions, I think we can wind up for today.
Sadhu. Theruvan Saranai Swaminathan. It's since we have already passed the usual time, and also we can discuss the next questions for the next week's session. On behalf of everyone, I would like to thank Venerable Dhammadassi Thero, and also would like to ask if Thero would like to do us Anumodana on behalf of everyone. Thank you very much.
So we have been discussing how to practice Arya Dhamma, how to reduce the Raga Dosa Moha in ourselves and to become Aryas and to develop Arya qualities throughout this more than 2 hours. It has passed more than 2 hours. So through these actions, through these Kaya Kamma, Vachi Kamma and Mano Kamma that we have created through this time, we have developed immeasurable amounts of meritorious power, as stated in the sutras like Dakkhina Vibhanga Sutta. If someone can mention, or if one can think of anicca, if one can think of metta, even for a flick of a second, that is the most powerful meritorious deed that one can develop. So I think we have been focusing on anicca, dukkha, anatta, and the reality of the world, and everyone was paying attention and listening to these Dhamma thoughts, and was comprehending and thinking based on those Dhamma thoughts, and the amount of meritorious power that we all have generated through these actions are immeasurable. And all the hindrances and barriers that we have to complete our Arya pathways may get diminished with all the meritorious power that we have developed today and throughout these Dhamma series. And may everyone get the perfect background with full of life, comfort, power, refreshness, and wisdom, finally being able to end all the 10 Sangyojanas, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Accept this blessing with a sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu.
And let us not forget about all the ones who helped us throughout this samsaric journey, especially the deceased relations of us in this life and on previous lives, and the ones who helped us throughout this samsaric journey. Parents, teachers, ones who told us what is right and what is wrong, ones who gave us jobs, ones who constructed our houses, gardens, workplaces, and the ones who are maintaining the infrastructure and food supplies, everybody, and the ones who were hurted and harmed by our actions throughout the sansaric journey due to lying, due to slandering, due to killings and hurtings and stealing, having unethical relationships, and all those negative things might have hurted many sentient beings in this universe, and let us not forget them as well, seeking forgiveness by acknowledging our faults and promising ourselves not to do those wrong things again. Let us remind them as well in this special occasion, and let us not forget about the ones who made this event a possibility by having these Dhamma platforms, the Zoom links, and the ones who are in the back end helping us to have these Dhamma discussions, the ones who are paying for the electricity, ones who are sponsoring for the electronic devices, and the ones who are arranging the setups, everybody, and also the ones who are and also the deities and gods, Brahma gods, and everybody who are fond of Buddha Sasana, and also the ones who are not so fond of Buddha Sasana. All of them, including all the sentient beings in the universe. Let us spread all this meritorious power to them as well. If they are having wrong and distorted views, may they refrain from having those distorted views. May they understand the reality of the world and see the good qualities of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. If they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sinful acts. May they replace those sinful acts with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy lives full of life, comfort, power, refreshness, and wisdom, and ultimately be able to understand the reality of this world from a Kalyana Mitra, ending the suffering sansari journey, attaining Nibbana. Accept this with a sadhukara, transferring all these merits to all of the ones whom we mentioned with a sadhukara.
Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Now let us end today's discussion with this Pali stanza, blessing everyone, good health, wealth, and Nibbana, of course. Abhivadana Sirisa Nichang Vaddha Pachayano Chattaro Dhamma Vaddanti Ayuvanno Sukambalang Avrarogi Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Iminate Samichatu. May everyone attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Silavantam, Gunavantam, Punyakettam, Anuttaram, Durlabhedam, Vandhum, Pasitam, Varam. Sariputta Tera Agatam Patipatiya, Saddha Sila Dayavasam Buddha Puttam Namamaham. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Theruvan Saranai Swamin Namaste. Theruvan Saranai everyone.
Theruvan Saranai everyone.
Teruvan Saranai.
Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai.